Welcome to Overclocking TV. Today we are at the GIGABYTE factory in Nanping, Taiwan, and we will show you how to make a motherboard from A to Z. A motherboard uses a lot of components. All of them are assembled on a PCB to be the main board that you all know in your PC. The PCB arrives from another factory, and the first process is to solder on the board all the SMD. SMD stands for Surface Mounted Devices. SMD is a term used for all the components that don't have pins going right through to the other side of the PCB, but have their electrical connections on the edges, like the audio chip, or below them, like the chipset. Every part of the PCB that will be in electrical contact with a component gets a special soldering paste. The solder paste acts like a glue for all these chips before going into the reflow oven for definitive soldering. In that way, every small component can stay in the right position before being soldered. As you can see, the solder paste is applied to the PCB space only where you will have the components. All motherboards today have really thin and small components that are directly placed on the board called SMDs. The high-speed chip placer can place from 5 to 10 components per second. That's really fast. Most of the components mounted by these machines are around 1 millimeter wide and must be very precisely placed on the PCB. Today's motherboards have components on both sides. The first side that goes into the factory process is the back side. Once the back side is done, a machine switches the main board to the other side and the process starts again on the SMT line. After the small components, it's time to mount the chipset, CPU socket, and all the other chips that will make your motherboard work. Before being placed on the motherboard, each chip is first verified by different sets of lights to check if there is any problem with the soldering points or alignment of the chip. You can see that chips like the chipset, audio, SATA and USB 3 ICs are placed on the board by this machine. The same for the CPU socket. As an example, all the chips bigger than your finger are placed by this machine. At this time your motherboard has SMDs on the PCB and can go to the reflow oven for the soldering process. The soldering paste is melted by the high temperature and sticks to the components and the PCB. The temperature reaches as high as 245 degrees C as the motherboard moves through different levels. At this point, electrical connections and mechanical connections are made. Your motherboard now has all the small resistors as well as the chips and the socket. It's time for the visual inspection. This inspection avoids any misplacements or missing parts. Components smaller than 2 mm can't be checked by visual inspection, but this is why we have the AOI machine. The automated optical inspection machine checks if there are any missing or misplaced components. It also checks all the components that have visible soldering points, like the audio chip. And finally, the ICT or Integrated Chip Tester can verify if every chip that has soldering points below them, like the chipset, is well connected. It tests if the chip is well soldered electrically to the board, but does not